We are live. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sonia. I am the co-founder and president of Boutique NYC. I hope you understand my heavy French accent. Before anything else, I hope you are safe. And thank you so much for being with us here today for our second event of a brand new kind, our Meet the Founder events, where we introduce you to indie brand founder and especially women to start with this month because it's the month, it's a Women History Month, and we want to celebrate every woman of the past and present. But we cannot do that. Then we celebrate women founders of boutique and we celebrate you. Then before we get started with our special guest, I just want to mention that if you have any question, please leave them below and our special guest will answer them at the end. So let's get started. It's my pleasure to welcome Lynn Power, co-founder of MASAMI. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for being here. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great to be on, and I love the focus on female founders this month, so thank you for doing that. And you are one also, by the way.
Oh,
so
yes.
Give yourself a little shout out too.
Yes. All of us. We are like 80% or 80% women at Boutique. Then we're pretty proud of that.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm going to present you a little bit. Lynn has 30 years as an executive. She was the CEO of J. Walter Thompson in New York, and she turned entrepreneur. She launched MASAMI with James Hammett. He's not with us today. In February 2020. And James spent most of his career as a creative service for big beauty brands like L'Oréal, Revlon. And MASAMI is a premium clean hair care brand using vitamin-packed ingredients. And their hero ingredients is Mekabu from Japan, and Lynn will talk about it. Then without taking more time, Lynn, tell us about yourself and how you get started with MASAMI.
Yeah, sure. And I love how you say Mekabu. Your accent makes it sound so much sexier. So yeah, I'm a longtime ad executive, as you mentioned, 30 years in the business. And I had kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder, so to speak. And my last job in advertising, I was the CEO of J. Walter Thompson, New York, which you had said, very large, very old legacy agency. Actually was the oldest ad agency in the world. Doesn't exist anymore because they merged with Wunderman. So now it's called Wunderman Thompson. So I do have the honor of being the last CEO of New York. So that was kind of interesting. But I also felt like I had gotten away from what I love to do, which was building brands and thinking about using creativity as a business tool. I had become so entrenched in the administrative parts of the job, which, by the way, is what happens when you get more senior. You get to do less fun things. People think it's the opposite, but it's generally not. So I was dealing with a lot of legal and finance and HR and whatnot, and that's really not what gives me my energy. So I decided to leave in 2018, and this is where the universe kind of just stepped in. I was doing some brand consulting with startups, but my husband was actually working with James. I don't even know if you know this, Sonia. Yeah, James had migrated from the beauty world. He was, as you mentioned, most of his career in beauty, and he was like an Uber producer, head of creative services. And so he translated that skill set to advertising and was working in advertising. And he had approached my husband and said, oh my God, I've been working on these formulations for about 10 years. And I think that they're kind of done, but what do I do? I don't know what to do next. And so Bill has not worked in beauty before, and I've done tons and tons of beauty. So I've worked on, L'Oreal and Clinique and Vichy and Nexus and all sorts of stuff. And he said, oh, you should meet Lynn. So that was how that happened. So James came over to my apartment in New York City with his husband, Masa, which we will talk about in a minute because he's our muse, hence MASAMI. And I knew I liked him because both Masa and James loved my dogs. And you heard my I now only have one dog. We lost our big dog last year, but
I'm sorry.
you heard him barking and what a nuisance he is. He's little and he's just a brat. And James and Masa were so nice and sweet to him. And I love dog people. So I feel like, people that are nice to dogs are generally good humans.
Oh, yeah.
So we kind of just clicked. And then he proceeded to tell me the whole story of how he's been making these formulations. And my cynicism from working in advertising kicked in. And I was sort of like, I think he's a little nuts. But then I tried the products. And I was completely convinced. And he really has this intuition for creating these formulations. And he knew even back then, 10 years ago, that they should be clean, no sulfates, no parabens, no phthalates, that they should be high performing, that if you solve hydration, that you solve a lot of the other hair issues people have. Like, he wasn't looking at data or studies to show him this. He just knew from being hands-on with models and products that was what he wanted to do. So that's how we came together.
Wow. I mean, first, if you didn't have the dog, maybe you wouldn't fell in love with James.
That's true.
That's really, I mean, he had the guts of thinking about a clean hair care line before it's the trend in a way.
Yes.
And it's Masa. You said about Masa. It's there's a love story behind this. Then can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah. So James and Masa, yeah, it's interesting. They've been together for I think it's about 14 or 15 years now. And that's really where the story started, because Masa is from a small town in Northeast Japan called Atsuchi. And they were the town that was actually devastated by the tsunami in 2011, by the way.
Oh.
But James would go back to Masa's hometown and spend time with his family, who's amazing. I got the pleasure of doing that as well in 2019 when we were working on our branding and our launch. And James was just really enamored and kind of just intrigued by the healthy lifestyle. They have such a long life expectancy in Japan, the longest in the world. And obviously their diet is much different than our American diets. So that's a big piece. But they also take the seaweed that grows right in the bay and they harvest it and they eat it, but then they dry it and powder it down and they put it in their skincare and hair care because they know that it has these sponge-like hydration benefits. And so James had the little light bulb go off and knew that there was something to this ingredient that would be really powerful. And then, of course, Masa was the conduit to us figuring it out because he happened to know the seaweed manufacturer, which is family-owned company in Northeast Japan, took us there. We met with them. We sat down. We're their first beauty product because all their products that they make are food grade. And they harvest it for us. They powder it. They dry it. They ship it. And it's like fresh, Makabu powder. Which is absolutely amazing.
I mean, you are the only one using Mekabu or the ingredients itself, the seaweed. You are the first using it?
I think we're the first in the Western world, but there is a local brand that we found, a local beauty brand that does use it, which is not a surprise. And I do think in Australia and New Zealand, there are some skincare brands that have actually used it and done some studies around the antioxidants and nutritional benefits and whatnot for the skin. But it's hard these days to find new ingredients, right? That are not fully, explored or tapped, or also ingredients that are all natural. Because there's a lot of, chemistry happening where you can create ingredients in a lab, but obviously we wanted our products to be natural.
And I mean, this is the hero ingredients, but also Masami is a premium clean hair care, then you really made sure all the other ingredients are super safe. Then tell us a little bit about that. I mean, the research behind that, and talk to us about the
it's actually
a wide word, give us more insight about it.
No, it's hard. Clean beauty is not regulated and hard to understand for some people because it is so the definition is changing depending on who you talk to. For us, it was about making products that are good for you and good for the environment. That's our goal. So what we decided to do when we finalized our formulations was to follow EU standards. EU standards, for anyone that doesn't know, are way, way stricter than the US. Like they ban, I think it's something around 1,500 ingredients.
2,000, I think. Yeah. Many.
So it's and by the way, that's the same standard that Whole Foods follows. So we just felt like we had to align with some type of standard that we felt good about. Of course, there are lots of other standards that you'll find. Credo has their own, Sephora has their own, lots of clean beauty retailers have their own. There are a lot of ingredients that are up for debate, whether or not they're good, bad, whatever. And we just kind of felt like, well, we can't chase everything. We have to put a stake in the ground. So for us, it's really about eliminating the big known toxins, right? So sulfates, pretty much everybody agrees that those aren't good. Parabens, there are some people that think they're not so bad, some people that think they're bad. We just decided if we can be without them, live without them, replace them, better to do that. And then phthalates, I think everyone pretty much universally agrees those aren't good. And by the way, those lurk in a lot of fragrances. Our fragrance does not have phthalates, but a lot of fragrances do, and you don't have to call that out on your label in the US. So anyway, that was sort of our thinking. And we just decided we needed to balance out, we want our products to be high performing. But we also wanted to address the 90% of hair care products in the US that still have those 3 ingredients in them that I just mentioned.
Yeah. So by having, the Mekabu obviously is the hero ingredient. It's clean, but also making it luxurious is a challenge also, because there's many hair care line that are healthy, but you are a step above. You are a premium brand. Would you explain a little bit, for someone who doesn't know Masami and see a brand, a healthy hair care line, and see Masami, and what is the differentiation that they can see?
Yeah. So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in the sense that a lot of other clean hair care brands are somewhat unfulfilling when it comes to their performance. They're thin, they're somewhat watery, they don't give you the performance cues that you want or need. And so for us, that was a deal breaker. We needed to have products that were luxurious and salon quality. And the trick was to find, obviously take out the bad things, but to find alternative natural ingredients to replace those things. And it's not like there's one magic ingredient. You have to create this cocktail of good stuff that will do what you want it to do. So our formulas are thick. They're very hydrating. They're salon quality. We're actually in all the Spoke and Wheel salons nationwide, as well as Dream Dry.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the Mekabu specs of powder in our formulas. And we also have, things like blueberry extract and aloe and almond oil and other good things in there too that enhance the performance. But you can actually see the Mekabu powder. And the reason for that is because we actually get it in powder form, because we figured out that if you put it in as an extract, which is what most ingredients are, that it just creates a heavy formula that will weigh your hair down. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted it to still be lightweight. so that you still get the performance and you don't get the oily feeling of hydrating, what can happen with other hydrating products. So that's why we're able to put more of the Makabu powder in, because it is a powder. And as a result, you can literally see the green specks in our formulations, which is, I like that.
It's very nice. I mean, when you have the texture, and I can approve. I have curly hair. It's always difficult to find, a healthy hair care line. It's always make it like creepier. I don't know if it's the right word, creepy. And by using the shampoo and conditioner, and me, I love the serum, the smell of it, especially if you can tell us. I mean, all the Mekabu, all the ingredients, the Mekabu is in all the line, the shampoo and the cream and the styling cream. Yes,
that's exactly right. Yep, that's our hero ingredient. It's in everything.
Yeah. By the way, the whole line is there's a discount 20% on the whole line. The shampoo, conditioner. I have the conditioner here and shampoo, and the styling cream and the serum. It's 20%. Then it's available for 10 days more. Can you give us some tips for healthier hair, either healthy? I mean, either curly or thin hair. Many types of hair. Their way, people can just know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I obviously have very thin hair and I color my hair, but I used to use a lot of ponytails and I stopped doing that. I don't know if you can see can you see the?
Oh, yeah, Japanese style.
Well, you know what? They're called kanzashi sticks, but there's less breakage. That's so very easy to use. Just put them in, but you don't get like when you pull out a ponytail holder and you'll get like a clump of hair attached to it. You don't get that. So I think one of the things that you want to do if your hair is on the thinner side like mine is just try to avoid breakage however possible. So this is one way. Another way, which is also great for thick curly hair, is silk pillowcases, to avoid the tangling and the clumping and whatnot, and also helps maintain, your manageability and your hairstyle from day to day, so you don't have to wash it every day. And that's the other benefit of our products is, people notice after like one use, and then we really recommend using a little bit, not a lot, and not washing your hair every day. And that also is another way to just minimize, because you're stripping oils and whatnot every time you wash. So you want to try to maintain your hair's natural balance and your scalp's natural oil. And then I would say there are lots of great DIY things you can do. DIY hair masks. If you have, an avocado that's sort of like just on the, a day too old, you can mash that up, and there's, just literally Google DIY hair masks. You can find bananas are in things. There's lots of interesting ingredients that you probably have at home that you can use to really just give your hair a little bit of love, a little bit of self-care, a little boost. And that's good too.
Okay, thank you for these tips. And in terms of washing, you said not so many times. You recommend like 2 times a week.
Yeah, two or three.
About it,
Yeah, I mean, I think most women kind of get this intuitively. Like 2 to 3 times a week is pretty much all you need. But I think more and more people are realizing, you don't need to overdo it, and you don't need to be also, if you're using products that have chemicals in them. People don't realize you're rubbing them into your scalp, which is one of the most absorbent parts of your body. So you don't want to be doing that every day.
No. And sometimes to forget, because we have something during the day. Now we don't go out, but we have Zoom meetings and we don't have so many events outside, but we still have to take care of ourselves and our hair. Then
exactly.
Yeah, that's I have like this part also. I love it because it brings, our courage out and how we are proud of ourselves as women. And because it's the Women History Month, I'm asking this question about 2, 3 badass moments that you can bring, share that you are proud of. And also, I am curious. I'm a woman in the beauty industry, and being a woman in business is already it's not a challenge, but it's sometimes more challenging maybe than a man in the business. But in the beauty industry, being a woman in the beauty industry, how it is for you, and the badass moment that you are proud of, 2, 3 or more.
Well, look, I think as women, we have badass moments every day.
Oh yes,
we just don't like, tell everybody about them the way that men do, right? But we kind of like do that a lot. My son just walked by and gave me like the eye roll.
Yeah, my daughter didn't do it, but she may do it.
Yeah, that's fine. But I would say, like, for me, it's about taking control and sort of, really taking my own destiny into my hands. That's when I feel the most sort of badass. So leaving my, very successful advertising career without really knowing exactly where that was going to go, I think was one of the first things I did. And I do try to counsel women often that if you're in a job where you're complacent and miserable, or even not miserable, you could just be not very fulfilled. Life is short, and there's really no reason. There's lots of alternatives out there, and you're never too old. I'm a testament to that. I was 52 when we launched MASAMI. You're never too old to start something else and do your own thing. So I would say leaving my job, number one. Number two, launching a brand right amidst a pandemic. That's not something that most people would recommend. But of course, we didn't know. No one knew what was going to happen last year. So that one was one where we just had to kind of go with it. But the other, I'd say the third thing is, I think women are the most badass when we're around other women who are also badass. And like Boutique has been great about really getting the founders together, introducing us, building a community. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about over this past year is having those connections and creating partnerships, which we've done a bunch of. We've made really, really good connections with other like-minded brands where we've been able to really help each other. And so I don't know if you call that badass, but I do, because I think there's strength in numbers, and I think women can do anything if we join forces and we help each other.
Yeah. I believe the same totally. That's why we're doing this at Boutique, because being together, it's not for nothing that stronger together is a strong proverb or sentence, whatever is the expression. But being together, especially during this period and the pandemic, I mean, we have to be together to move forward. I'm curious also, Lynn, I'm always curious about the psychology, and it helps also people, it inspire them. When you had more than 3 badass moments. I think maybe all your life you had badass moment. What's the mindset, when you're in front of a challenge? We are always facing challenges in life, and what makes you have a badass moment? What's the mindset behind it?
You know what, for me, it's those moments where you can really be honest, but with integrity. Like, I'll just give you a very small example of that. I had somebody pitch me the other day on a beauty app, for lack of a better word. And I looked at the deck and it looked interesting, but there were 4 men on their leadership team and 3 men on their advisory team.
Oh, okay.
And I literally said, seriously, you don't have any women and you're pitching mostly women? That's really just not a good look, and it's not smart. And my husband kind of went, but I do think when, those little moments when you can just try to be honest and try to move the conversation, even if it's a little uncomfortable. I guess my mindset would be, one of like feeling a little bold, if you will. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it's kind of just being honest. And I think the problem is when nobody says anything, right? then those situations happen over and over and over again. And nobody's saying like, hey, that's not okay. Or haven't you thought about it this way? Or there's an alternative. And so I do think speaking up, like I said, with integrity, you don't want to alienate, but I think that's part of our role as female leaders, is to call things out and to make it better, create a better place for us. And look, I have a daughter, she's 17. I want her to have, an easier time in business than I did. So
yeah, she are you orienting your daughter to be in business in a way, or you are later?
It's funny because I would love both my kids. I have a 19-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter, right? And they both have watched my career progress, and they've watched this transition to being an entrepreneur. And I actually think, well, let me say it this way. Neither of them want to go into advertising. They're completely turned off by that. And I've dragged them along to enough like business things that they feel like informed enough to say, oh my God, no. I dragged my son to Cannes, south of France, which was beautiful, for the big Cannes Lion Festival when he was 15. And he literally said, oh my God, you people are pathetic. You talk about yourselves, you give each other awards. Like, what is wrong with you advertising people? And I was kind of like, oh, he's kind of right.
Yeah.
So, but now that they see me in a different way, because I'm not in the corporate world anymore, I'm an entrepreneur, I think, well, also they're a little older, so there's that. But I think it's a little easier to pull them in and make them part of the conversations and make them part of the business. And I don't really care if they want to do what I'm doing, but there's so much you can learn from just launching your business, that I hope that, they're picking up on some of it, just to be able to apply it to whatever they decide to do. Right.
Yeah. And it's leading by example. I mean, I think that's the best way also for the kids, they see you doing, and they follow a path in a way or another.
They either go towards it or run away from it.
I mean, we try to bring them in a little bit, but
yes.
I mean, being an entrepreneur, a woman entrepreneur, and you have such an amazing brand, and you launched, I mean, it's a badass time to launch in February. I mean, we didn't know, you didn't know, but you thrived during the year, which is really, this is very courageous, and congratulations for that. And we're very proud to have you, Lynn, with us. Then I hope you can relate to one of the example of Lynn, and you can take some action, or you're inspired a little bit. We don't have comments in question. Then for that, I will thank you for being here. If you don't have question, Lynn is still here. You can leave your comment. And we're going to have other events next week. As always, you stay tuned for more live event. We will announce them soon. And in the meantime, you can subscribe to our event calendar to be notified, and visit our website, Boutique NYC. You can buy MASAMI products going to the brand page, and you have 20%. Thank you so much, Lynn, for being here. Thank you for the information, for sharing all the insightful information. It's very interesting, and I hope to see you in another event. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Be safe, and see you in next event. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.